All right. Good morning. Let's go ahead and get this show on the road. Um, Real quick, taking a look at Bitcoin price performance. You could see it there in the upper right-hand corner, I believe. But we have now crossed the $90,000 threshold. So I said this on my Twitter account the other day, but I really do feel like the 90s are going to go a lot faster than the 80s. The 80s took a few days. I don't think that we're going to see that here. I think that it's going to be quicker, but that's just me. Yeah, it looks like we've already touched 91,000 as well. So we're well on our way. This is fantastic. So, um, all right, like I said last time, I'm going to do a daily post of kind of my P&L or my profit net loss. So you guys can see real time, what I'm doing, what I'm looking at, how am I approaching the market, at least when it comes to Bitcoin. So as you could see, overall, as far as my portfolio balance, I'm up 196%, about 200% on the year. That does not take into account, all of the purchases that I made in June of 2022 and then on. So continuing to watch this, we'll look to add to my position for Bitcoin as I see a pullback in price. Right now, I do not see that. Um, right now, we are going up, up, up. So at some point, you would expect this thing to cool off, probably somewhere in the 100,000 or the $125,000 range. And so when you see a pullback there, I fully expect to add to my positions then. But speaking of my positions, here they are. You could see, I mean, you could see my retirement, what I've saved up over the last 10 years in my 401k. But really, what I'm trying to get folks to pay attention to is my individual account. So my individual account, I loaded up. Well, I've loaded up a couple times, but for this purpose, I loaded up about October 28th through um, Halloween. And so I put about $6,500 in the account. It has grown since then to, it looks like it's going to hit 15,000. So yeah, you could do the math, right? Like that's, I think all in all, year to date returns. Hmm. Yeah, you can do the math. It's over 100%. So again, if you want to see what positions I have in my individual account, I've kind of talked about those a little bit, but these are derivatives, ETF derivatives of MSTR, which is the ticker for Microstrategy. So you can kind of see here, what that looks like as far as my total gain and loss. And yeah, over 100%. So we're looking pretty. We're looking pretty. Um, I was almost going to buy today, or really yesterday, some Bitcoin, and then today I was gonna buy some more MSTX, but yeah, we're taking off, so it kind of doesn't make any sense to purchase any right now. We'll kind of see if we get a pullback. Um, yeah, fun stuff. Okay, so what did I want to talk about today? I never posted my first episode. And I said that I was gonna when the Bitcoin was at 80K. I was doing a video, and it just kind of never happened. Bitcoin just really just moved way too fast. So I'm gonna do it here. Let me pull this over to the side. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Okay. Yeah, I think this was updated as of the 11th, but this is just to show global asset returns year to date of all the different assets, right? And you can go down the list and you can see, uh-oh, you can see the S&P 500, you see the Nasdaq 100 pulling in about 25%. Um, you've also got, I mean, the bond market here, it's up to 2.5, and then you get down into the treasuries, right, and you're into the negative territory. But right there at the top is Bitcoin at 110%. That is the price appreciation year to date. You can see gold right below it at 26%. So Bitcoin is clearly the winner year to date. I mean, it's the winner all the time. That's kind of what I've been saying. It doesn't matter what time frame that you pick, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year. Bitcoin has gone up faster and has appreciated, more than any other asset in the world. So people are starting to catch on. Let's see. Yeah, I'll get into that one. What is Bitcoin, man? I got this question, I got folks asking, so I guess I'll explain it here. Um, Bitcoin is internet money. Bitcoin is a new technological advancement in money, right? And it really challenges you to understand what is money. See, for the longest time, kind of born into this system, and so for most of us, you know, money is ones and zeros in our bank account. It's how we get paid. Typically, I've seen folks I'll tell you this, I use my credit card and I try to pay off the balance at the end of each month, right? And it's kind of the way to go about it so that you build up good credit, right? Because that's the way our financial system runs is on credit, right? If you want to go get a house, you want to go get a car, and you want to get a good rate so that you're not paying uh, very much on the mortgage payment or you're not paying very much on the car payment. You want your credit score to be very high, right? You want it to be in the 7 to 800s if you want to max out on the best rate that you can. Um, but yeah, Bitcoin is money. It's really as simple as that. The thing that makes it so attractive to investors is that it is not controlled by any one person. There is no CEO, there is no board of directors, right? There is no central issuer. So it's treated more like a commodity. And if you ask around and if you look around, you do your research, you'll find out that the head of the CFTC, which is the commodities, I'll say the commodities group, the head of the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, ECB, Christina Lagarde, of the European Central Bank, they all agree that this thing is a commodity, and it's because the only central issuer is nature, right? Just like gold, just like oil, right? You have to mine gold, you have to dig oil. With Bitcoin, you have to mine Bitcoin. So the other thing that makes it very attractive is the fact that it has a cap supply. Bitcoin is the only asset in which, when the price either goes up or goes down significantly, the supply does not change. That does not happen with other assets. If the price of gold shot up to 4,000, a lot more people would be mining because there'd be more incentive, right, to mine because the gold is worth more. When equities go up, like Nvidia or Tesla or Apple stock, right? They can issue more shares and dilute those shares or do a five to one stock buyback, right? Or I'm sorry, stock split. Um, you just don't see that with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's supply is not going to change. There's 450 that's made per day. Um, and that's it, right? And in 4 years, in the next halving, it'll halve to 225. And then every 4 years, it'll half and half again. And that's the way that this works. So that's a little bit about what Bitcoin is. I encourage people to go read about it. I encourage people to, like, seriously, like, a lot of people stop reading after college or after high school. Reading teaches you critical skills, it teaches you critical thinking. You need that, right? When you're investing. Um, anyway, all right. So what am I showing? I show the global assets returns. Cool. Yeah, man. Here's the ultimate problem, right? I mean, the ultimate problem that we have in this nation, and all the nations, is we can't save. We can't save appropriately, and it's the government's fault. It's easy to say that, right? At least for me, and I'll explain why. The government spends a gargantuan amount of money, Every year, they do not pull in enough in taxes in order to pay for their expenses. That's why our national debt keeps growing. It's at 35 trillion. I think a lot of people don't understand how big that number is. If you went back to the day that Jesus was born and you spent $1 million a day from now or from then until today, you still wouldn't touch what the government borrowed in the last 6 months. You couldn't touch it. $1 trillion is a lot of money. We have $35 trillion in debt. It is unsustainable. The amount of money that we spend on interest expense alone is over $1 trillion. That is the highest ticket line item in our budget now. It used to be Medicare and Medicaid, and followed by defense spending, which is usually around 850 to 875 billion dollars. Interest expense on the national debt has surpassed every single line item uh, on our balance. And I'm talking about the U.S. balance. Anyway, so obviously that's a problem. It's not sustainable. And you've heard this from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. He went on a 60-minute interview and he talked about this. Um, Janet Yellen, the Secretary of Treasury, says the same thing. So, and like it's so obvious, right? If you were to go look back, and this is just a tweet that I saw from Colin Rugg here recently, and it's talking about this new initiative that this administration is going to put into place called the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. That's going to be headed up by, looks like, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. And it talks about some of the uses of your tax dollars. Look what's on there. $20,000 for drag shows in Ecuador. $30,000 to study the secret language of butchers in Paris. $750 or $750,000 for the New York Metropolitan Opera fire alarm. $350,000 to develop smart toilets. $660,000 to study the impact that COVID had on Russian women. Don't even get me started on the hundreds of billions of dollars that we send to Ukraine and Israel as a part of our proxy wars with Iran and with Russia. So the government just keeps spending and spending and spending. The honest way to go about doing this is to raise taxes, right? Can the government makes money in multiple ways, couple ways. One of which is through taxes. Federal income tax is the highest line, and it usually pulls in about 1 to 1.5 trillion dollars a year in federal income tax or individual tax return, individual taxes, right? So that's the money that you pay at the end of the year, or if you get some back, great for you. That's the honest way to get the money to pay for all of these things. But that's not what the government does, right? The government prints the money in order to pay for its expenditures. So it does it without your approval. And folks in the know understand that that's what's driving inflation. Inflation literally means money printing. They've convinced you that it means high prices on goods and services. But that's not the why, right? You have to dig deeper to understand why. And when you go look at the national debt clock, I'm not going to show it here, but it continues to climb. And we continue to add a trillion every 90 days or so. This is a problem. This is a problem. And it allows us to not save, right? Because we're not getting any money in our bank accounts. Like they're offering 0.02% when you go put it into a savings account. Why would you go do that? So anyway, everybody turns into an investor. The government has done that for us. You have to be an investor. You have to study the markets. It's ridiculous. But that's why I'm here. Excuse me. Thirsty. Look at the hash rate. Look at the hash rate. It's skyrocketing, right? What is hash rate? Hash rate is the computing network strength. So when you see the orange line and you see it going up the way that it is, what this is basically telling you is that there are more miners coming online. There are more people utilizing the network that are running the client software. So essentially that strengthens the network. Right? More and more people that are coming online and run the client software, the more secure the network is. So the network is more secure now than ever. It continues to hit all-time highs, which means more and more miners are coming in. And so, and another thing is, right, if you've been in the space long enough, you understand that hash rate precedes price action. So hash rates hit all-time highs, price action is going to follow. So continuing to watch Bitcoin hash rate as the price goes up. If I see any dips, I'll let you know. I dog. I talk global asset returns, user adoption. Comparing it to the internet. Okay, this is a technological advancement in money. All right. So the only other time that you can really compare this new technological advancement or this introduction of this new technology is the internet. It really is. And so when you look at over the course of, I'll say, the 10-year time horizon, and this one's kind of old because it stops in 2022, but this is just to prove a point. And the point is that crypto adoption is in line and pacing with internet adoption, in some cases outpacing, right? You can see that in the chart. Blue is crypto user adoption, green is internet user adoption. So it's only a matter of time. I don't know why I'm looking that way. It's only a matter of time. Here's the annualized asset performance chart over the last 4 years. So if you take the performance over the last 4 years, and then you divide that by 4, that gets you the annualized asset performance. Going from the right to the left, look at bonds. Look at bonds. The safest thing, that's what they'll tell you. The safest thing you could put your money in is bonds. Yet, you're losing 5%, and that's before inflation is taken into account. Are you fucking kidding me? Gold, 7%, real estate 10%, S&P 14%. If you had the money to put into the Mag 7, you doubled that. Um, And then if you put your money into Bitcoin, you doubled that. Hell, if you put your money into Microstrategy, you doubled that. This is pulled from Microstrategy's Q3 earnings. If you have a chance, I definitely recommend go taking a look at it. Microstrategy, of course, is the largest public company that holds Bitcoin. They have anywhere between 250 and 270,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So, Microstrategy, by the way, for me, is the play. You can see that's where my positions are. I fully expect this thing to run up. It's going to be amazing because it will be the one of the top 5 most valuable companies, and people are going to see that all they did was buy and hold Bitcoin. So, going to be amazing. I can't wait. It's going to blow people's minds. Price performance since the halving. Let's take the halving, starting at the halving, and play out the next 4 years, right? And every halving or every 4 years there is a halving, right? And a lot of folks don't know what the halving is. Halving is essentially once we get to that point, and we already had it in April, the block reward gets cut in half. So people, the miners who mine Bitcoin and solve the transaction or solve the block get rewarded, get the block reward. I think it's like 3.25 Bitcoin or something like that for solving the transaction. Plus, you also get fees on top of that. Um, but yeah, that's what the halving is, right? It cuts the natural supply in half every 4 years. So there's only 450 Bitcoin being made per day. Before April 19th, it was 900. So in 4 more years, that should be 225. So again, making it even more scarce than it already is. It's already got a cap supply, and now you're saying that we're only going to be able to award half of that every 4 years. So it plays into the scarcity. And then yeah, it plays into the FOMO that everybody gets. So you can see here on the where we are currently today, which was before 80K, I'll say, or right around 80K. And this is from On-Chain College, so kudos to them. What this basically shows you is we got room to grow. We got room to grow considering the past cycles. So this is only the beginning. If you're watching this thing, freaking rocket up, and good luck. But yeah, we got room to grow. Where it goes in the short term. Again, I've talked about 100K. I've been saying that for years now. But it's gonna go higher than that. It just has to because there's just way too much demand coming in. And this is exactly what I mean. Right here is the net Bitcoin ETF flows. This is all 42, 43 spot Bitcoin ETFs, and the black line represents the cum inflows, and the yellow or orange bars represent the daily inflows. Now, I told you that there was only 450 being produced per day. That's natural supply. Okay, look at these bars. On the left hand side is the primary axis for these daily bars. Look at the bars. 10,000, right? You've got multiple days above 10,000. Just the other day on Friday, BlackRock alone purchased 8,500. That's almost 20x the supply, the daily supply. They're buying 20, 30 days worth in a day. Again, when it comes to Bitcoin and it being a digital commodity, what what rules apply for commodities is the law of supply and demand. Simple as that, right? And the law of supply and demand states that all things remaining the same, in this case, supply, if demand goes up, so too will price. And the vice versa is true as well, right? If supply stays the same, demand goes down, so will the price. So what you're seeing right now is the supply is remaining unchanged at 450 a day. Inflows are coming in at 10, 12, 13,000 a day, right? Eventually, we're going to start reaching into OTC counters. We're going to have a supply shock. Bitcoin is going to rocket. You're seeing the beginning of this. The beginning. I talked about this. Again, MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is going to invest 42 billion over the next 3 years. They said 10 billion next year. If you do the math, that's 550 Bitcoin per day that they're going to purchase. And don't forget, the United States of America is going to start a Bitcoin strategic reserve, and they are going to add 1 million Bitcoins to their balance sheet to match their reserve ratio that they have with gold. So again, competing with gold. But again, if you do the math, 200,000 in a year, divide that by 365. I don't even know what that is. What's the number? 547 Bitcoin per day. So you got MicroStrategy saying that they're going to buy more than the daily supply. You got the United States saying that they're going to buy more than the daily supply. You already got institutional demand that's exceeding the daily supply by, 15 to 20x. How long before other countries do the same thing and they mimic the US? How long before other institutions in Hong Kong and China and Russia and Ethiopia and UAE, how long before they catch on? Right? This thing is a freight train. There is no stopping it. All right. Woo. All right. Did I make my case? Did I make my case? All right, folks. Then I got nothing else, man. If you got more questions, drop them in the comment section. If you want to hear some more about, other things that I'm seeing in the markets, or you just want to, you got questions about Bitcoin, I'm here. I'm all ears. I'm trying to start a community here. So I'm here for you. I love you. I love me more. And so I got to go. But peace. Until next time, y'all.